What's going on, everyone? So, Sidney Prescott, the final girl. She is going to once again be the final girl in the upcoming Scream 7. Really excited to kind of see her journey in this upcoming film. Hope they do right. Um, Obviously, she wasn't the final girl in Scream 5, but even the way they handled her in Scream 5 was awful. I'm hoping that because this is going to be a Sidney driven film, that she is going to be the main focus, the main lead, likely the main target. Um, that they just do a much better job with her and her character and development and storytelling and all of that. But um, one of the things that is very likely when you're talking about this just future of Scream, not really necessarily this film, but maybe as soon as Scream 8, we could see kind of us go from Sidney driven, Sidney focused, motive, Ghostface, everything all about Sidney. Because remember, we have Scream 8 already greenlit. I don't believe they're stopping there. I think bare minimum in the next, 2-3 years, whatever, we get at least this trilogy. So I think we get this film all the way through 9. And then I wouldn't be shocked if there's a little hiatus, but look, Scream is one of those franchises you can keep going, and they will keep going. And look, I'm somebody that I love Sydney. Grew up with Sydney. I would love to see her be in these movies forever, but I just think at some point you're gonna have to move off of her. Either she's gonna age out, or she's just not gonna want to do it anymore, or you just stop being creative. And it's like, I mean, how many brothers, cousins, nephews, uncles want her dead? At some point, it's just like, dude, just go hide, just go move and hide live in a box or something like that. Whatever you got to do, right? And so, at some point, it's just like, when does Ghostface just get lucky? Or so, like how many Ghostface could attack Sidney before one just happens to catch her off guard, or one just happens to just fall into her with the knife or something, and just it's craziness, right? So at some point, I do think that they're going to at least begin the transition stage, and very likely it's going to be Tatum, right? Now, the reason I say very likely is because there is always the potential that they do like a Jill 2.0, which I hope they don't. The only reason Jill worked is because it was unexpected. It was ahead of its time in many ways, right? The final girl turned Ghostface. But, I mean, there's also the potential that they kill her. Like, there's several options here. But I do believe at some point, Isabel May is going to be the face of the franchise. I think at some point, Isabel May is going to be the one that is going to lead the charge. And look, we might still have Sidney. I mean, you got to keep in mind, like, Sidney is the mother, right? So you're going to have Sidney directly tied in as long as you have Isabel May. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to have Sidney in every movie, though. That doesn't mean that you have to have Sidney play a big, significant role in every movie, right? But if at any point, for whatever reason, you need or want to, just have Sidney involved, you have an easy inherent reason as to why. Because guess what? If her daughter calls, doesn't matter what she's doing, doesn't matter where she is, doesn't matter how terrifying or crazy or how many Ghostface there are, guess who's coming? Mama Sidney. Mama Bear's coming to come and protect her baby, right? Like, so I think Tatum transitioning into the final girl and being the main focus and the main character, like I said, as soon as maybe Scream 8, and she even talks about herself that she wants to be a fighter, right? Like, that was the whole thing. I want to be a fighter like you, Mom, right? She wants to be, I don't think that line is in there by accident. I think that is obviously just a line for the film, but I also think it's a line to help further establish that, like, hey, she's going to be a big part of this franchise for the foreseeable future. Right? Get comfortable, strap in. Tatum is going to be a key fixture in the Scream franchise. Not only is she Sidney's daughter, but she's very likely going to be the new Sam, right? And I'm okay with that, right? Like as long as she does a good job, you have to build her character though. I talked about it. No, I talked about it. I made a video talking about her, and the studio and everything, just doing right by her character. It's not as simple as just being like, hey, here's Sidney's daughter, and that's that. Right? Like, we need to know, who is she? How is she as a daughter? How is she as a final girl? I mean, look at Sam. They did such a poor job with Sam. The general consensus at the end of 5 was, she's terrible, get rid of her. Either make it Jenna Ortega or bring Sidney back. Scream 6, they did a much better job, and she was much better. She was much better received. But, you got to make sure you're doing right. Like, this film, I imagine you're going to have kind of Sidney and Gale focus front and center, right? They're the ones that I think are probably more likely not going to be the ones to take out Ghostface. It appears that Tatum ends up getting kidnapped. So I would imagine that, Tatum gets kidnapped. Maybe she has like that fighter scene in the end, but kind of this victim turned hero journey. Right? She gets kidnapped, mom comes and rescues her, and then she kind of is prepared so that way that doesn't happen again, type thing. Right? But again, at some point you're gonna have to move off of Gale and Sidney. Right? Whether it's a year from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now. At some point, you're going to have to kind of go a new direction. And one of the things that's so beautiful about Scream is like Ghostface can be anybody. You don't have to, you're not tied and locked into, one particular character, even Sidney. As much, again, and it's nothing against, I love Sidney. I grew up with Sidney. Right? She is the final girl. But, I also want Scream. I'm also a Scream fan. I also want them to continue to make these movies. And so, you can still have Sidney in capacity, right? Like in some shape or form. But how do you do that properly? To me, I think the answer is you integrate her with, an actress like Isabel May, who is the new main final girl and all. And now it's like, okay, now we have that. Now we have, that easy tie-in, that easy connection into Sidney Prescott. Because like I said, at any point, Tatum picks up that phone and goes, hey, Mom, I need you. Guess what? Mom's coming. Don't worry. Strap in. So it leaves the door open for Sidney at any point by doing the daughter. And also, it being Sidney's daughter, you're going to have a natural reception to her. Like, you're going to have a lot of people that just are fans of her and her character simply, even if the character's terrible, you're going to have a large audience that's going to love her character just because it's Sidney's daughter. Right? Like, so no matter what, I think you're going to have an audience that is inherently built into her. And then it's just, getting everyone else on board. But got to do right by her because you're very likely looking at the future of the Scream franchise. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Past question you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. If you enjoy these types of videos, truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.